Yo, 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 today I have a Yoo-Hoo hat. Nathaniel and Bergen got me this for my birthday. It came in the mail today. So I have to have a Yoo-Hoo with my Yoo-Hoo hat. It's so perfect. My other birthday present also came today, which is the camera that I am recording on right now. Something I got for myself. Been waiting on it for a couple weeks. So it's very exciting that it's here. I have a little new thing to screw around with and experiment. This is what the camera looks like. I have another camera that is basically the same one. It's got like this interchangeable kind of system. It's like an action cam, but you can take it apart. So there's the battery and then the lens piece and the actual computer that has the screen on it. And so the idea is, instead of having to buy a whole new action camera for each different thing you want to do, you can just swap the lenses. So like this is a 360 lens, and then you could swap it for like a really nice lens like the one that's on this one, if you don't need to shoot 360 and you don't have to buy the whole new computer and the whole new battery and everything, which is a cool model. And I was gonna just get the new lens for this one, but then there was a pretty crazy deal that I found, and I ended up just getting a whole second camera. So now I have that. And it has like this funky little cage with it too. That's not manufactured by the actual company, but it's a metal cage that goes on it, which I can mount things like, I can mount a microphone on it or something. So like this is the microphone that I usually use with my big camera, and I can slot it in to this slot here. And now I have the tiny little action camera with the big mic. Obviously I'll be getting a smaller mic for it, but that's the idea. It is sort of annoying that the port that the mic has to go into is in here. And so when I have the aftermarket cage on, the factory mic adapter does not slot all the way in. So I have to get another piece that kind of comes out like a little adapter to make it so it will actually fit there. But the grand plan with this camera is to modify it and make it a little more like this one, just in a very, very small form factor, because I've been having a lot of fun running around with this thing that I shot a couple videos on, and it's just like a tiny little Canon PowerShot point and shoot, fits in your pocket nice and easy, but it's really crappy in low light and very grainy and doesn't have a lot of, you know, actual cinema camera options and manual focuses, and so I want something that's similar, small form factor, but more capable. And this thing actually also shoots up to 4K 60 FPS, which this thing can't even do. This does 4K, it does 60 FPS at 1080 or 4K at, you know, 24 or 30. So that is a useful thing to have as well. And it actually goes up to 5.7K if you go in a really widescreen aspect ratio. I think it's like 1 to 2.35 or something, which is pretty awesome. So the actual sensor in this camera has a lot of potential, and the form factor also has a lot of potential. The downside is that it's stuck with this wide angle lens, and so if you're not going for that look, you can't really, it doesn't look good, because I can digitally zoom on it. It's pretty cool. It pairs up to my phone here, so I can use my phone as a live monitor, and I can zoom from the phone, which is pretty cool. But when it's zooming here, this is just digital zoom, which I can kind of get away with to some degree because it's already shooting 4K, so digital zooming on that can't be that bad, but it's not ideal. I would rather have an actual zoom lens on there. So the goal with this camera is to mod it in a way where basically we're taking that sensor, the actual image sensor that collects the light on the inside, and pairing it up to a more real camera lens, adding a mounting point on that looks like the mounting point on this, so I can use any sort of lenses I want to on the tiny little thing, which you could say defeats the purpose of having a pocketable camera, but that's sort of the reason I've been collecting these tiny lenses, these little C-mount lenses. So like on this camera, this is all the lens is. This is not a DSLR, this is a small camera. But if I can have this thing putting out footage that looks similar to this, would be pretty awesome. Now obviously the sensor in this, it's really big for an action camera, something as small as that, but it's smaller than a camera like this. So it's never gonna have quite the low light performance, quite the sharpness. The building's really coming down now. Oh, look at this cute little guy. Tiny little skid steer. That is adorable. But it'll get close, and for outdoor shooting, like if I'm in the studio, I'm going to be shooting with this thing anyway. But if I'm out on the town, out shooting a city somewhere, this thing is going to be really useful. Because, you know, outdoor, you don't really have to worry about. A smaller sensor is less of a disadvantage outdoor in daylight. So this thing is going to be a king for shooting on the go, I think. Obviously this looks better because of, you know, depth of field and stuff. The footage looks nicer. But once you get lenses like this that have actual manual focus, and even little zoom lenses on there, it could be really, really cool. Certainly not going to replace the big camera. Oh, and it's just died. Okay, so the battery on that one died, so I have to go back to this camera. So that is one downside of this camera that I'm going to modify to some degree is, so this battery platform, interchangeable batteries, there's a couple different sizes. This is actually the new one that has like 1400 milliamp hours. The one in here only has like 1100 milliamp hours. And that's because you have to put the smaller one in to fit it in this cage. So down the road, I'm going to modify this either by cutting the cage to allow for the bigger stock battery, or I will take these 4 pins, I'll cut apart one of these batteries, harvest that kind of like pin port, and attach it to a much larger lithium ion battery. But if I could do that and kind of have a cord that runs out from that port, and I attach like a bigger battery block to the front here, the side or something, as large as I can without increasing the form factor of the camera much. But that's kind of the goal, is to make this thing the coolest, like most capable videography rig that I can, while keeping it as small as possible. Because like this thing is a third of the size of that camera, just the body, not even counting the lenses. And in theory, it'll be able to do a lot of what this can. The camera I'm shooting on now is already a really small camera. It's a lot smaller than DSLRs. And then this was my kind of beater tiny camera that's even smaller than that. And this thing is even smaller still. It's just the tiniest little thing that'll ever put out cool looking video. So I'm excited to have this, to get this mod kit down the road and put some real lenses on it, figure out better battery capacity, get this mic jack working, and it should be a cool little cinema camera rig. Because, you know, this thing's good to lug around and I get decent looking 1080p footage out of it. But imagine if in a similar form factor, I can get, you know, 5.7K optical zoom, manual focus, like real stuff. At the very least, it's a fun little project to work on and just modify a little toy. We'll see how it goes, but I'm excited for the project. New tools in the arsenal is always a fun prospect. Anyway, I'm just geeking out about this right now. I don't have anything else to say, but I will see you tomorrow.